Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel Lifestyle Critic. I hope you're having a brilliant day. So the 6th episode marks the end of the first part of the first season of the Gossip Girl Reboot, and it was a decent episode, but I don't think it was as good as the previous episode with all of the shocks and revelations that they had at the party. And granted, they can't all be at that caliber, but the 4th and 5th episodes were getting better and better, and this one I do feel like as a result was a little bit lackluster by comparison. But that being said, there was a lot going on and I'm going to be breaking it all down for you right now. So this episode focused primarily on the relationships that the teens have with their parents, and as such it really deepened the character depth with these rich kids in the Upper East Side and showed new layers to all of them. Now I don't think the dynamics were as good as they were in Marvel's Runaways in terms of a group of friends and the chaotic relationship that they have with their parents, but I do think it was really great to see nonetheless. Firstly, we had Zoya meeting Obi's mother, which was just so fascinating. Was he secretly ashamed of what his mother would think of her, and then potentially be proven right with how she behaved, at least in his eyes, at the dinner? And then to add to this was Julian influencing Zoya to behave like this because she knew they would irritate both Obi and her mother, and was she disguising this as actually doing it for Zoya's benefit, whereas she was secretly trying to sabotage their relationship? I just thought all of this was super fascinating. Next up we have Audrey and her mother, and how she was coping with the fact that her mother is in hospital by displacing all of her guilt on everyone around her and venting all of her anger and frustration on other people to be able to deal with this situation better. By comparison to Zoya, she was actually able to hold herself together really well at this high-class dinner setting, which is all pretty familiar to her. But the way that she felt so awful about outing Aki to his parents, I thought was really, really brilliant. Max having the courage to literally step away from the Rafa character, I thought was really excellent too. He was so desperate to get with Rafa all season long, but after he did see and learn what a predator he was and what a sinister character he really was, he was able to channel his logical mind and realize that this situation is really not right, which I thought was actually really courageous and really excellent, especially with where his character was before in terms of just wanting and lusting after Rafa for so long. Also, it was really interesting to see how Rafa just couldn't take this blow to his ego and was then doing so many things to either get Max's attention or cause him harm, which really does show what a dangerous character he really is. So I really like the fact that they were showcasing the entire group of characters in this episode, as it really felt quite evenly balanced with all of the characters, which was really, really great. So with Julian, I really loved how they were showing the business side of being an influencer and all of the challenges that come with it as well, that we maybe don't realize when we look at the perfect world and the amazing lives that these people live. So for example, the decision of who to partner up with in terms of having the right management team who not only have your best interests at heart but also do align with the same values that you have as well. Also, wasn't it really, really powerful how at the end of the episode where she finally did choose a management team to partner up with, but actually they didn't want her posting certain pieces of content, which literally does show how much freedom you lose and your identity and your creative expression when you end up partnering up with a particular brand. Also, I thought Zoya was really, really great in this episode. I did feel really, really bad for her because she was being so manipulated by Julian, Obi and the rich snobby parents while still trying to do the right thing and to stand by her values, which I thought was really, really cool. Also, I felt really bad for her too as well when she witnessed Julia and Obi together at the end of the episode. It really did mirror Serena and Nate being back together again from the original series in those particular moments too. I thought that Max was alright in this episode. There was a lot of the fallout from last week that we saw this time. He usually has the most intense acting style out of the group, and this time it was a little bit more mellow by comparison. But like I mentioned before, I thought it was excellent how he really had the inner strength to walk away from the Rafa character and had to deal with the psychological abuse that Rafa was exerting towards him in this episode. And of course, they were re-establishing his strong connection both from a friendship point of view and a physical intimacy point of view with the Audrey and Aki characters. Speaking of which, I thought Audrey was brilliant in this episode. Similarly to Max, they didn't have the big glitzy storylines this week for her, and instead it was was a lot more stripped back and focusing on how this character is going to deal with the fact that her mother is in hospital and must now take care of the entire family, and how this is too much for her, and how she is dealing and channeling with her anger and frustration and channeling this out on other people. The way she dealt with unintentionally outing Aki to his parents as well, I thought was really, really great, especially with how Zoya was also involved with this, who she isn't really that big of a fan of. I mean, I did miss the lack of Monet in this episode, especially with how phenomenal she was last week. So the teachers are honestly my favourite at the moment. I really like how they've made the Kate character the main Gossip Girl character, and how she is really dealing with the duality of the role. The fact that another teacher put up a Gossip Girl post I thought was excellent, and it really did mirror the original show whereby nobody is safe from it, and the fact that Kate saw herself being on the Gossip Girl page I just thought was absolutely hilarious. I also agreed with the justification of doing this too, in terms of if she is going to get involved with characters within the core group, then she should also be a GG target in order to avoid it being too obvious that she is behind it all. I also really like how they're all in the groove of it now too. I think rightly they had various doubts over the first 5 episodes, and now they can just continue with being in these roles that are now pretty established. Also, the way that Rafa got back into the teachers group with malicious intent and with manipulating the Kate character on numerous occasions, I thought was pretty shocking, and really did show again what a sinister character he really is. So we ended with a few cliffhangers in the mid-season finale. Nothing too dramatic like the mid-season finales of other shows like Manifest, but that being said, there is still a lot to talk about, so here are our predictions of what could happen next. So we see that Aki's father doesn't want him to become close with the Julian character, which I thought was really interesting, as we haven't really seen these two characters interacting before. It must be due to business dealings with the two fathers, as Aki's dad is just obsessed with making money and just that corporate lifestyle. We also see Julian getting back together with the Obi character, which, like I mentioned, was very Serena and Nate. It'll be sad to see the impact that this has on the Zoya character, but again, she is a really strong independent woman type character too, and already has had other love interests such as Simon, so I'm sure she'll meet someone new too. The threesome with Aki, Max and Audrey was pretty intense. I know that they were trying to go for the shock value factor here, especially in the mid-season finale, but other movies and TV shows have done storylines like this before, for example with Spring Breakers, which had Selena Gomez and Vanessa Hudgens in it, but nonetheless, it did still make all of the relationships a lot more complicated, and I'm sure it will lead to Max and Aki then giving it a go for themselves, and Audrey could meet someone new, maybe the same person that Zoya is going to be interested in the future, which will really re-establish the bitter rivalry between these two characters. I also literally cannot wait to see Elizabeth Lail back as the Lola character, as you just know that this character cannot be trusted and that she's really with Julian's father for his money. Also, I can't wait to see the fallout from Monet leaving the group officially after stabbing Julian in the back, so I'm sure this will be truly explosive and be true Gossip Girl at its best. We are also due to get a bit of a cameo from a series regular in episode 10, which isn't going to be one of the core 6, annoyingly. I think they're saving them for the next season, so my guesses are that it'll either be Georgina or maybe even Eric that make a guest appearance in episode 10. Finally, the teacher's dynamic now has Rafa back in the mix, so I reckon that he'll cause a lot more chaos for them and for other characters as well, and then maybe someone might even kill him in his apartment, and this could lead to a bit of a whodunit murder mystery, which could be really interesting and very Riverdale inspired. So I have enjoyed the new Gossip Girl reboot. I mean, I wasn't sure at first, as I was just constantly comparing it back to the original series, which was just so phenomenal. I mean, it has taken a little while for it to get totally in its stride, and I'm sure it will take a little bit longer as well. But it definitely is getting there. I did think episodes 4 and 5 from the first part of the first season were the strongest, but I am looking forward to seeing what they're going to be doing next with the world of the Upper East Side, as it literally is just so addictive, isn't it? So those are my thoughts on the 6th episode of the Gossip Girl reboot and what could potentially happen next in the second part of the first season, and maybe some storylines that would trickle into season 2 as well. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What were your thoughts on the 6th episode? Please let me know in the comment section below, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye everyone, XOXO.